Hello, hello. Hope everyone's having a good day. We're going to try to do another Reformer profile. We've got Reformation Day coming up, and tonight I want to take just a few minutes to look at Theodore Beza. Theodore Beza. Theodore Beza was born on June the 24th in 1519, and he's a very interesting, very influential person who at a very young age learned Greek and Hebrew and Latin, and he became well versed in philosophy. He became very well versed in history and ancient law, and he would eventually use all of these learnings to critique the Roman Catholic Church, which he renounced in 1548 after a pretty serious illness. So Beza became so skillful, as a matter of fact, in Latin that it was said that he could converse more easily in Latin than he could French, which was his native language. But Theodore Beza was one of the most influential men of the 16th century, and I think most people who have heard of Beza know him as John Calvin's successor, or maybe the first rector of the Genevan Academy. But even more than these things, it should be noted that Theodore Beza was a man who had a God-given burden to minister to people. He had a God-given burden to minister to the flock of God, and he was a man who held obedience to Christ in the highest regard. And he had an interesting view of life. He viewed life as basically a journey, a ship's journey on the way to a safe harbor of heavenly rest, and shipwreck of faith was to be avoided at all cost. And in order to reach that safe harbor, that harbor of refuge, that harbor of heavenly rest, and to avoid shipwreck of faith, it was going to take more than mere human wisdom. It would take nothing less than the revealed Word of God to keep a man from being dashed against the rocks on this ship's journey of life. So he had a high view of the Word of God, obviously. And Theodore Beza was a man who understood the value and the importance of prayer, and he understood the value and importance of study. And when he found himself in times of sickness, which came more frequently as he progressed in his age, but he would pray, and prayer is what he relied on to keep his life steady. And he understood that in our humanity, we are frail and we are weak, but God keeps us steady with his mighty and unchanging hand. So he looked to God for strength, and he trusted that God would keep him from suffering shipwreck of faith before reaching that harbor of heavenly rest. So just giving you just a short few minutes worth of a profile. He retired from public life somewhere around 1597. I think he taught fairly regularly, if I understand correctly, to about 1597. But after he retired from public life, it was then that he completed his fifth and final edition of the major annotations of the New Testament, which came out in 1598. So even though his frailty and his physical limitations kept him from preaching more than just on occasion, his intellect remained sharp enough to serve the church through translation and annotation. So even though Beza was a man who was known for his polemics, and he was a man who was known for his written doctrinal defenses, he sought and preferred to edify people by whatever means that he could. And he believed pastors were to be men who encouraged and instructed and corrected the flock of God. And he sought to put more effort into these things than into his polemic work and his doctrinal apologies. And a very influential man in the 16th century and even thereafter. He died in Geneva in 1605 at the age of 86. And appreciate you watching. Reformation Day is coming up, and we're going to try to do at least one more of these reformer profiles. Check out the one on John Knox that we did. You can find it on our YouTube channel, or scroll back on the Free Gift Gospel Mission public Facebook page. And we hope that's a blessing to you. So everyone have a good night, and we'll catch you later. Bye now.